Okay, what we have here are two iPad Air smart cases. One of these is a genuine item bought from the Apple store. The other one was bought online, claiming to be genuine, but is nothing more, I believe, to be a Chinese fake. If you look at both of these, it's actually very difficult to tell the difference. You might think by looking at the packaging there'd be small details which are different between the two, but if you actually look at them, the kind of small details, even down to this tab here, which all the genuine items have, is actually on both of them. So it's actually quite difficult to tell which is which, so I'm sure many people would be actually caught out with this. If we look at the packaging, it's still quite difficult to tell the difference between these two. Differences are only very, very slight. You can see the plastic in this is just a little bit more yellowy than this one, which is clearer. Both have exactly the same picture on the inside, which shows you how to fit the iPad into the case. And it's only really when we turn them over that we can see some differences. Obviously the main difference on this one is a Chinese script, but also the colours in terms of the printing on this are much darker than on this one. This is much better, lighter and easier to see than this one. So that's the first clue that one of these is actually a fake. So out of the box the differences are more apparent. This feels soft and leathery, smells like leather, and the fine details such as the Apple logo here are very clearly defined. Also it's very light and feels good quality as well. You can possibly see typeface in there is readable on this one. This one, however, is quite a bit heavier. If you tap it and you feel it, it feels more like polystyrene for this. The actual type isn't quite as clear, and altogether it just feels like a cheaper product. It feels plasticky. It smells like nail polish or something like that. So all in all, it's a much cheaper product. Probably the first thing I actually noticed when I got this was that the Apple logo isn't properly cut into the actual case itself, and it's off centre as well. Whereas if we compare that to this one, dead central and very, very clear. So let's start by looking at how well the iPad actually fits into each one of these. We'll start with this black one, which is a genuine item. As you can see, it goes in easily, it fits snugly. The holes are well defined. Each one of these represents a hole within the iPad for the sound to come out, and the hole for your connector also well cut as well. So as mentioned before, this Apple logo is dead central, and the hole for the camera there also dead central. Switch, it's easy to reach, and the buttons themselves are clearly defined on this one. Microphones also line up perfectly with the iPad. So now we'll see how well the iPad fits into this red one, which is a fake one. It's a little bit more difficult to open. It's a bit more of a tight fit as well. As I mentioned, it's a bit more like polystyrene. It's the type of tray that you get chips in if you went to the fish and chip shop. But it still fits snugly. And if anything, the strange thing is, it probably fits slightly better within this one than it does in the genuine item, in as much as this is closed completely. However, it's at this point that we start to notice some issues with this one. So I mentioned the first one I noticed whereas the Apple logo isn't quite as clearly defined, and it's not in the centre either, it's slightly further over to the right than it should be. So that was the first clue that this wasn't quite genuine. The other thing I noticed as well, I don't know whether you can see this, but there's a difference between the hole there and these tiny holes, and the holes on this side as well. So they're not symmetrical, so they don't line up exactly with the iPad. And in addition to that, there are two holes cut here. This one lines up perfectly with the iPad. This one is out of alignment. They're not, and basically it doesn't line up with the hole that's in the iPad there. The buttons themselves aren't quite as clear as they are on the genuine item either. But it does work. Not quite as well as a real one. It's okay though. So to sum up, I hope what I've shown with this video is you need to be very careful when you're buying online. There are fakes out there, and if anything they're very convincing. I think most people would probably find it difficult to tell the difference between this one, which is a fake, and this one, which is a real item. It's only when you actually get to feel the difference and see the difference for yourself that it becomes more obvious. The thing is, the most difficult elements of the case they seem to have got right in terms of the general construction. It's a tight fit, this works perfectly well, and it switches the iPad off. But where they seem to have fallen down is actually the fairly simple things in terms of obviously putting the Apple logo in a dead central place as Apple would do. That's fairly simple. And also, when they're cutting these holes, to make sure that they line up so they're symmetrical on either side. So it seems to be the simple areas where they've fallen down. So I guess the moral to this story is if you are buying anything, ensure that you buy them from a recognised Apple reseller and not from some shonky company online. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you.